Thanks for tuning in to the Realtor Moms podcast. We are Tasha and Jamie, full-time realtors in the FM and surrounding areas, and admittedly average moms. This is how we sell homes and try to keep our kids alive.
Thanks for tuning in to the Realtor Moms podcast. We are marathoning
tonight
with a bottle of wine and some cheese because we've got some important information that we want to get out to you. And the first one that we're passing along, a nugget of information, is inspection expectations.
Yes.
What you need to know, what you can expect, and maybe a few stories.
Oh, you have some good ones.
Yeah,
we have some good ones.
So, Tasha, take it away. What's your first grand piece of information that you can share related to inspections? What should a buyer know? And by the way, we're just doing this from a buyer's perspective tonight. All these details are about what a buyer's inspection expectations can be.
Exactly. I would say plan for at least 2 to 2.5 hours for the home inspection. So that's kind of the first piece to this. I mean, you don't want to schedule an hour away from work to do the home inspection and then come to find out, it's going to be 2 to 2.5 hours.
And sometimes I'll have people who are maybe buying, but they don't live local, so they can't come back, or they've got just a really tight schedule. So if they can't be there at all, that's fine. Either way, your realtor or someone on behalf of your realtor will be there. Most of the time,
yes.
it's us, exactly us. But if you can only get away for a little bit, work with us and we'll kind of arrange with the inspector, or the inspector will arrange with you the right time to show up for the very end to kind of get that recap.
Yes, because they go through, they inspect everything, but then they go through the report from page to page and talk about what was found working well, what was not working, and also they can give tips and ideas for your homeowner maintenance.
Right. How to change the furnace filter.
Yes.
How to operate the thermostat. What is a humidistat?
Yes.
All those kinds of things. And it really is invaluable to be able to see firsthand what some of the quote unquote, problem items or just alert items that need repair or maintenance. To have the inspector there to point them out to you firsthand. So
yes,
that's good if you can be there.
So what's your next tip?
Well, I think buyers should also know that buyers pay for these home inspections.
Yes, it is a buyer responsibility to pay for it.
And part of the reason for that is because you want that inspector to be working on your behalf. And it's not to say that if, for example, there's we call them a pre-listing home inspection. I'm doing air quotes as if you can see me right now. If a seller pays for an independent third-party home inspection, those are great too. But that's not super common. So getting back to it, buyers should expect to pay for their home inspections, and they range in prices. It depends on a whole bunch of different things that you want to have inspected or not inspected, or the size of the property, the distance from Fargo if it's not right in town. New construction can be a different price range than existing. So there's a lot of different price categories, but expect to bring your checkbook or pay online or bring cash or whatever you're most comfortable with, but do budget for that as a home buyer because you're going to be responsible for the cost of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Home inspections too, they're not building and they're not code inspections.
Oh, sure. Right.
That's another thing to really keep in mind. Those home inspectors are licensed, but they don't do building code inspections. They basically see what's working and what's not working in a home and give you an idea of what you're going to be facing when you move into the property or even beforehand, just to see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So what happens when there's 54 items on the home inspection? Should a buyer panic?
Don't panic. Right. There's always, even new construction, there's going to be items found from a home inspection. Yeah. That's always the case. I wouldn't, unless you're wanting to kill the deal, I would not say ask for all 54 items on the home inspection.
I think that's a very good point. Yeah.
But, if there's some big items, like let's say the furnace hasn't been serviced in 10 years,
sure, right.
Okay, it's not uncommon to say, hey, we want you to have ask the sellers to pay for and have the furnace serviced and remedied if any issues are found, and to provide a receipt to you as the buyer before you take purchase of the home.
Right. Kind of gives you basically the equivalent of a doctor's checkup on your furnace. It's, of course, does not guarantee the longevity or the future operation of that item, but That's a great example of something that is a pretty common request, and it's a real benefit to a buyer if a seller is willing to do that, or even to let a buyer hire somebody to come in and
to
kind
do
of give
it.
that thing a checkup. Because it's such a big component
It's
of
a big
our homes.
component, yes.
Like, it's not like we live somewhere where we don't need heat.
Yes. I actually had a home inspection one time where the shingles had been replaced, but the home inspector got up on the roof and it was all spongy.
Oh, no.
And so basically the sheathing, the wood underneath the shingles was never replaced, never taken off. And so they put, and it was bad, and they put the new shingles on top of that roof. And so basically what that, they had to have a whole new roof put onto the home. And my buyer at that point did not want to have a home inspection, and I did talk him into it.
Oh, sure.
And he was so incredibly thankful to me for doing that.
Yeah, right.
So
otherwise it would have just trapped continued moisture and continued problems.
Correct. And
just to be clear, we're not saying that every shingle replacement requires sheathing replacement or new boards.
This was just my one particular scenario.
Though, they should have been, and they weren't, and the inspector was able to find that out.
Correct.
Nice.
By almost going through the roof.
Oh, yeah. So we don't go up on roofs with our inspectors.
No.
Not our clients and not ourselves. That's what we have those inspectors for, so they can do that work, crawling up on the roof. And a whole bunch of other things. Another thing that they do is they crawl up, or at least get a head and shoulders up, depending on the size of the access, but up into attics sometimes to verify the amount of insulation, which is something that I think people don't think about.
Oh, yeah.
Is whether or not you have enough insulation in your attic. And over time, there might not be as much up there as maybe there was once.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, once upon a time, whether it was compacted or stepped on, or who knows. Or maybe they'll find a little visitor living up in the attic, like a bat or a mouse or a squirrel or, some other unintended guest. But that's another really important part of having a home inspection, is getting up into those nooks and crannies that you don't want to go up there.
No. or into the crawl spaces, if there's houses with crawl spaces. I know I don't want to be crawling around in there.
Guys and gals are brave.
I don't want to do that. I'm happy to let them take that on.
Totally. How about if somebody doesn't want to hire a pro? What if they want to just call Uncle Bob and do it themselves?
No, and more no.
We know that sometimes you have, and okay, so here the full disclaimer is, yes, you are allowed to do that. There's nothing anywhere that says you have to pay someone who's licensed to do your home inspection. You can call Uncle Bob, who maybe he's got a ton of experience, whatever you think, or maybe you don't want to have a home inspection at all. It is up to you, but we're here to try to protect you and your best interests, and we're telling you with absolute certainty that the licensed home inspectors in our area are worth their weight in gold.
Yes, they are.
They're testing for things sometimes that we didn't even really think about. They kind of know, even just by maybe the type of house or the builder or the time period, or even some of the weather, those main events like major hailstorms that went through certain areas. They know these things happen, and they know even some specific things to look for just because of all the experience they have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
So let's talk about what gets inspected and what doesn't. Because it is a whole house home inspection, or a whole home inspection, they call it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're operating every single drawer and every single cabinet and every single appliance.
Like, they don't generally check washers and dryers.
Right. And sometimes they're not even included in the sale anyway.
Correct. But they generally don't check those items. If you want things such as lead-based paint testing, like you have to do a separate testing on that.
Right.
Or radon. Radon has become very big in the Fargo-Moorhead area and surrounding areas.
Yep.
And if you want to, they can do radon testing, but we need to let them know ahead of time.
Right.
So that way they can have the machine handy to get it set up.
Yes. Think of your home inspection like a pizza. It comes with cheese and one topping, right?
Yep. And then if there's extras.
Yep. You can add them. And most of the home inspectors can do lots of additional testing, but you've got to ask for it, or you've got to be listening when they're offering you these other options: lead testing, moisture, mold testing.
Correct.
Some of them have heat guns where they can sort of identify where your heat loss is in the wintertime. if you want water quality testing done, if you, there's lots of other things that can be tested. And sometimes it has to be another person, but work with your realtor, work with us.
And we can best advise with each home and each property and what our recommendations for the inspectors, what they can provide to help us get a better idea of what the house has to offer.
Right. Right. And then after your home inspection, we are here to help you navigate through those lists of what may be perfect, imperfect, what is actually just a home maintenance item.
Yes, exactly, Jamie. We can help our clients figure out what is a big deal, what is something we should be asking for, and what is maybe just a home maintenance problem or issue that needs to be addressed, but could be done, on a weekend project.
Yeah. Well, and unless you're buying a brand new house, you're probably not paying brand new house price.
Yes.
And therefore shouldn't be expecting a brand new perfect house.
There's always going to be items found.
Right.
So it's just a matter of kind of guiding through all of these, all of this report and being able to help our clients kind of navigate and understand what this all means and what is standard and what is expected through the process.
Exactly. Totally. Do we have anything else on the home inspection?
Not at this point.
That's a great crash course in home inspection expectations.
Correct.
So thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for our next episode of the Realtor Moms Podcast.
We would love to be your realtor. Reach out. Replay or hear more episodes at RealtorMomsPodcast.com or check us out on iTunes. We do post funny stories and more information on Facebook and Instagram, so feel free to check us out there. This podcast is produced by Tasha Barrett and Jamie R. Swenson of Park Company Realtors, Fargo, North Dakota, 701-237-5031.